Chapter 6. In this episode, we will hear more about how Oscar's development in making mixes is going, but we will also hear more on how the group of friends are doing. A few months have now passed since the last episode, the summer is over, and Oscar has visiting Andrews a few times and has become quite good at mixing music, he thinks. Andrew has been a really good apprentice, and the technical aspects of the music program are now under control, and Oscar is considering whether he should upgrade his equipment. The only problem is that Oscar still hasn't found a job yet, so money is tight now that he is paying off his moped. Luckily for Oscar, he asked Andrew if he couldn't help out a little in his studio at the film school where Oscar's sister Rosie also works. So now Oscar works 3 days a week helping with practical things and thus earns a little money, while at the same time he looks over Andrew's shoulder when he works on making music and sound effects for the films the students make at the school. The new music store that was close to Andrew turned out to have a lot more Eurodance music. They got all the new music from Europe every week. So now there was finally a large selection for the Year Mix 96 that Oscar was going to start mixing in a few days. The songs he listened to a lot were, among others, Culture Beat, Take Me Away, and Faithless, Insomnia. But the song Oscar was most crazy about was Me and My, Baby Boy, which was a Danish girl group who had also made the song Dub I Dub in 1995, where the club remix version was really cool, Oscar thought. Maybe I should make a Me and My artist mix in the new year, Oscar thought. But the year mix had to wait until after the weekend. Oscar had other plans. All of Oscar's free time was spent mixing almost all day, so he hadn't really seen much of Ava, but that had to change now that Christmas was almost in a month. Christmas was magical, and all December there were Christmas markets and parties every weekend, so Oscar thought about taking Ava to a Christmas party at the film school the coming weekend. Oscar called Ava at the music store and asked if she wanted to come to the Christmas party. She wanted that very much, so now the plan was to plan the best evening so Ava could see Oscar in a different light. Disco lights. Oscar laughed to himself. Luckily, Oscar was helping to plan the party at the film school, so he saw his chance to book himself as a DJ, just for half an hour, so Ava could hear how good he had become at mixing. The weekend was approaching, and it was time to get an overview of all the cool Christmas mixes that had come out on the forum Oscar was a part of on the internet. Every year, the different underground DJs made cool and sometimes quite funny Christmas mega mixes, especially those from the German DJs, which they released every year before Christmas, and they always got the party started. Oscar wanted to play them at the Christmas party this coming weekend. Not as part of his DJ set, but afterwards, so the party could continue with great music. Time to download the best Christmas mixes. 2 mixes would be enough. They lasted over 1 hour each, so there was probably plenty of Christmas music. First, the mix with the original Christmas songs would be played, then afterwards the dance versions, so the party could really get started. Oscar had planned. It was Friday. Oscar was in a good mood, so he thought about partying a little tonight, just with Jack, and if Isabella and some of her friends could come. It was 8 p.m. and the guests had arrived. Oscar was allowed to have a party once in a while for his mom and dad. They just went out to their friend's house and had a good time with some good food and wine. Now it was time to play all the new Eurodance for the friends. They absolutely loved it. Oscar was the center of the party and controlled the music all evening, so his friends could enjoy themselves without having to think about changing CDs. A bit like when you're at the club, Oscar thought. At 2 o'clock, the last ones left. Jack stayed and slept. He got a little too drunk, but it had gone okay, Jack thought. He had the chance to talk to Isabella some more, even though he got a little too drunk. It was Saturday, and Oscar woke up with a huge hangover. Fuck, he thought. I'll have to be fresh by tonight, he told Jack. Don't worry, I know a good cure for a hangover, Jack said. Drink water with salt and eat something and get a couple of hours of sleep, then it'll be fine, Jack said. Oscar had to try that experiment. He had an appointment with the party committee at the film school at 3 p.m. to get the decorations up for the party tonight. It was 2 p.m. and Oscar had to leave. Luckily, the hangover was almost gone, and all the equipment was packed and ready. Ava arrived at 5 p.m. as agreed for the Christmas party. She was wearing the most beautiful red dress. Oscar kissed her on the cheek. It was great that you could come, said Oscar. I wouldn't miss that for the world, Ava replied back. I don't want to miss seeing you play and getting free food. Ava laughed. No, that's not bad, Oscar said. After dessert, Oscar was supposed to play his DJ set. He was so ready. The music was carefully selected for the slightly older audience. The mix was made in advance, so it looked like he was playing live. But Oscar hadn't learned that yet, so this was the solution, and it worked. After 30 minutes, he finished his DJ set. No one had noticed that he wasn't playing live, and the dance floor was packed, so it must have been a good mix, Oscar thought. Now the guests were going to have a smoke, and in the meantime, he was getting the Christmas mixes ready. After about 10 minutes, most of the people were back again. After some fresh air, and Oscar pressed play. The mix started, and the guests loved it. They partied, sang along, and drank until the early hours of the morning. Ava and Oscar had left around midnight. Oscar went home with Ava and slept as she lived closer. You can sleep with your clothes on or under my quilt. I only have one. Ava smiled. Now Oscar got a little shy. What should he say? Play it cool, thought Oscar, and replied with a confident voice. That's an offer I can't refuse. I can't stand my clothes getting wrinkled, Oscar said with a smile on his face. Follow along in the next episode, which begins in early 1997.